Welcome to this episode of The Square. Today we're having a curious conversation with someone who doesn't just design spaces, he breathes life into them. Hilton Carter is what happens when you mix creativity with cultivation. Hilton, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's worth making a note that we are not in the studio. We got out of the studio again, and we are at the amazing Oasis Plant Shop, which is the world's best plant shop that's in Oak Cliff.
Hey, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. I love Oasis. This was actually the first plant shop I'd had a book signing event when my first book came out in 2019.
The first of five.
The first of five, yes, the first of five.
It didn't seem right to have this conversation, considering the topic in a studio. We had to be surrounded by plants.
I feel like you all knew what I needed because I am more comfortable, more relaxed in a space that has plants.
Met you there. So your career, you actually got your master's in film from Art Center, right?
Yes, I did.
And you were a freelance filmmaker at the beginning. What was it about filmmaking and storytelling that captured your attention?
The idea that you could change someone's feeling about individuals, spaces, things like that through a matter of time. So like over an hour, you see a story come together. I was a painter first.
Oh, really?
So I was very into figurative painting and telling stories in that sort of way. I consider myself a version of Caravaggio.
Okay.
That's at least what I was trying to go for.
Nice.
I was like, oh, man, I'm gonna be the Black Caravaggio. Maybe Caravaggio. No. I wanted to tell stories through painting.
Yeah.
And my junior year of undergrad, I started to really watch more film and really find my want to tell stories in more frames than just one.
Yeah.
So I dabbled a little bit in video, and then when I graduated, I was like, you know what, film is it.
Yeah.
And let's move in that direction. And I just loved all the work that I seen when I was a child, but and also through college of just like Kubrick. I was a huge fan of, I guess at that point, P.T. Anderson had just put out Magnolia and like or something like that. And I was like, I really love when you're able to tell a story and have people involved in just craft art in film.
Everybody that has a love of film, whether it's a career or not for them, has those 2 or 3 milestone movies that just kind of spark that passion, especially for someone who ends up doing it as a career. What was that movie for you, or movies?
Oh, movies. That's a great question. I know as a kid, I remember being very affected emotionally and drawn to the color palette of Do the Right Thing.
Oh, yeah.
I remember how warm that film felt and how hot I felt watching it. And then I remember how deeply involved I was in the music and framing of The Shining. And I always told friends of mine, I was like, if when I die, I want, open casket, I want everybody to be able to see me, but also because I would love for there to be a little screen on the back side of the casket, casket, where they can project The Shining.
During your viewing.
During my viewing.
I've never heard of anyone doing that, so it's unique.
Well, let's go there. But it's something about those two films, I think, when I was a kid that showed me that there were ways to create art and film that you typically just aren't used to seeing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once you get into the real bag of filmmaking and you go back into all of like the French New Wave and everything that was happening then, and you're like, oh, there's much more to see, and there's many more ways to try to be an artist in film.
So leading up to college, I had a very kind of traditional, whatever was in the theater kind of film experience. And then I saw Tarkovsky's Sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, it just blew my mind how film could transcend the medium that I had known it as and become something completely different.
For sure.
Is there in keeping with the film theme, and there's a lot of superhero movies out. Superman just came out. I want to talk about origin stories. See how I made that transition?
I like it.
So let's talk a little bit about the origin story for your love of plants. Was it something you grew up with? Is it?
No. We're talking about origin stories. Yeah, I think the process or my origin story in terms of how it happened for me, I grew up in Baltimore where there wasn't, in the city of Baltimore, where there wasn't a lot of greenery unless you were at a park. You couldn't just step outside of your house and walk around a bunch of trees and fresh planted flowers and things of that nature. So it wasn't until I was way into adulthood that I found this passion for plants. Now, as a kid, I did see the need for greenery, let's say, in a space, like in an interior space. So my mom, I'm an only child. My mom didn't have much time to tend to plants, but she understood the, I would say, the pieces of a home or the little details of a home that are necessary. Like you have your table, you have your couch, you have lamps and things of that nature. You always have to have at least a plant.
Yeah, some kind of greenery.
Some type of greenery. And because she had to spend so much time caring for me, and knowing that she needed this greenery in the house, she decided to work with faux plants. So I never give anyone any sort of
Faux plants.
crap about faux plants.
Yeah.
Because everyone deserves the opportunity to either be surrounded by greenery in a way that is living, natural greenery, or something that reminds them of life, right? We all pull to it and find ourselves getting a little bit more excited about life based on that feeling of greenery around. Like even if these plants that are in front of us were all fake, we would still have an understanding of, oh, that reminds me of life. You get that feeling. So when I would say by the age of 30, I had traveled a few places and remembered how wonderful I felt in places, tropical places that had plants. And I went to a plant shop in Pennsylvania in 2011. And going back to filmmaking for a second, and many of you who are in this room would hopefully understand this feeling, but when you're in film, unlike being like a fine artist.
Yeah.
And this is something that I had to deal with a lot. I worked as a fine artist for so long in my life where I could wake up in the morning, I turn around, like get off my bed and I could just work on the canvas.
Yeah. I
could do that all night long. I would draw on the wall with like sheet of paper and charcoal and do that by myself all night long. But the process of filmmaking, you need a team.
Yeah.
You can't just wake up and just go out and film and edit. Well, I guess you could, then be the talent.
There's always a ceiling to that.
There's always a ceiling. It's not going to be its best. You need a team of people working together to make something that is going to be beautiful. So there was a lot of, like after I graduated from film school, there was a lot of stress to create this thing. I wanted to be
to validate
the fact that, I want to be a feature filmmaker and you're not.
Yeah.
You're not considered that until you do it.
Yeah.
And in LA, there were a lot of big fish in a very big pond, I would say, and there's a lot of small fish as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I felt the stress to continue to try to do this thing. So when I was working as a freelance director, I was shooting a lot of commercials here and there, and I would always walk into a space, even like this space today. When I'm on the other side of the camera, I don't know how the gentlemen feel here, but when I will wake up in the morning to prepare for something like this, there's always so much stress.
Yeah.
We have to meet this time. You got to get all these shots in.
Schedule, budget,
all that stuff. So I was carrying that with me. So I had graduated in 2006. In 2011, it was with 5 years of doing this. And I'm shooting these commercials for a family of retirement communities. And we go to the one that's in Pennsylvania, and we walk into the community, and there's this older lady there who's a resident, and she's like, "Oh, you guys are gonna be here for a week. You should go to this restaurant across the street."
Yeah, I've heard of this restaurant. Yeah.
You should go there, and I'm like, "Okay, but we have to get everything in this day," and I'm just so stressed. And we finished shooting for the day. We have so many other days to shoot. And I'm just thinking about, as we're walking up, just thinking about what we didn't get that day and what we're going to have to do to recover for the next day.
Which is just adding more and more stress.
Adding more stress. And then I walk into this restaurant, but it's like a cafe plant shop. I walk in, it's like a greenhouse, all these plants, like orbs of staghorn ferns and vine plants just cascading down the side, wonderful light. And I walk in, and all of that thought, that stress seemed to just alleviate, like gone, poof, gone. And I could sit across from people I work with, and I could hear their jokes, their stories. I could tell my own. And it wasn't about what we had done that day, what we were missing, and all the things we had to work on the next day, or how I was gonna pay rent for the next, or like get the next job to pay for the next month. It was all about what was happening, what was present in that very moment. And I thought, I need to bottle up whatever this energy is and take it home with me in LA. And I thought, like, it has to be plants, it has to be light. And at some point in my life, when I have enough natural light coming into my space, I'll start bringing plants in. And in 2014, I moved to New Orleans, and that's when I got my first plant.
So that was like 3 years later, right after the plants. And so you kind of, the seed has been planted in Pennsylvania, and then you get to New Orleans, which I just recently, like literally last month, had the chance to take my boys. My wife's family's from Southern Alabama and Louisiana. But the boys got to go for the first time. We went down to the French Quarter, of course, went to Cafe Du Monde and got the beignets and the coffee. But we were walking around the parks and the quarters and seeing all the plants, and both of my boys, full credit to my wife, we have a garden. They spend a ton of time on it. So they were talking about all the different plants in it. I just had never realized, I hadn't spent a ton of time in New Orleans, how much greenery was there. And we were walking through this park, there's 100-year-old oaks with Spanish moss hanging off of them. And they were asking all about it. It clicked something when I was reading about New Orleans kind of being where that passion for plants really blossomed for you. No pun intended.
Keep it, So when we're talking about plants, there's all the puns, and you should use them all.
There you go. So tell me a little bit about Frank.
Frank was the first fiddle leaf, the first plant I bought when I moved to New Orleans. It's a fiddle leaf fig, Ficus lyrata for those real plant nerds out there. I mean, it was a purchase made based on the idea that I wanted to be better than my friends.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't tapped into plants like that. I just walked into a plant shop. Let's say I was in Oasis, and I walked in and I looked around and I saw this tree. Frank was probably as big as this. So he sat on the floor, probably about 4 feet, 5 feet. And I was like, man, none of my friends have trees in their house. I'm gonna get a tree. Like, I'm gonna get a tree. I didn't even think about, I didn't know I guess what I know now about a fiddle leaf fig being finicky and difficult to get for. I just wanted a tree. I wanted to impress my friends and
at this
make
point,
my home
you
feel great.
Moved from filmmaking to the agency, right?
No. I was still freelancing.
Were you still freelancing?
New Orleans. I didn't move into agency life until I moved back to Baltimore.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I got Frank. Well, he didn't say it wasn't Frank. It was just a plant. It was just a tree. I didn't even know what it was. And I brought it into my house. I had these large bay windows. I lived in the quarter, so I moved to the quarter because I could afford a 2,000 square foot house in the quarter, apartment in the quarter. That was almost like $1,200 cheaper than my 400 square foot apartment in Venice, California.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm changing something about my life right now. I'm gonna leave Los Angeles and I'm gonna go to New Orleans. What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I don't need this stress. So I moved to New Orleans and I brought the fiddle leaf fig in, and I was like, look, here's a window. That's what plants need. Pushed it up against the window. I fell into good luck in that sense. I just did windows, pushed them in there, but when it came to the watering, I didn't know what I was doing. So I started to overwater them, and leaves started to fall. A lot of leaves started to fall, and I freaked out. And it was in that moment where I freaked out, where a lot of people who consider themselves maybe not being good plant parents or not having a green thumb, and they're just not good at plants, would turn the corner and go, I'm not good for this plant. I'll go and buy a different type of plants. At that moment, I decided, no. I'm gonna figure this out.
You're committed.
I'm committed.
Yeah.
So I stood in front of him and I said, hey, your name's Frank. Well, you and I are gonna get through this together.
This is you and me, baby.
We're gonna work it out. So I went back to the plant shop, asked exactly, I took a photo. I was like, what plant do I have? They told me, and then they told me all the, the plant shops will tell you what you should do best for care.
Yeah.
And I made sure to take note to that. But I always tell people, you still have to consider your own space.
Yeah.
Not every single breakdown of how to care for a plant is going to work exactly for you and your plant, because your space is different than everyone else's. So I started that process of caring for Frank in a way of kind of like journaling the care process, stuff I just didn't really do before for anything. Like I shared a dog with an old girlfriend, but other than that, like Frank was the first living thing I had to care for.
Yeah.
And I started to pay attention to the plant. Like I started to really look at his leaves every time I would walk into the house, and I would wipe them down and I talk to him. It's like my new little bud.
Yeah.
The girlfriend I had at the time was like, are you sure you still like me? I'm like, yeah, you're cool. But Frank.
But Frank.
And I started to, which I didn't notice, but I started to change in a way where this guy that was typically like this ball of stress was starting to be a little bit more calmer. The girlfriend that I had at the time started to see that I could be a bit more aware of like changes that were happening in our home and with her, like those small nuances that happen in most living things. I could see them and then react to them before something had to be said, right? I became like a better listener.
You're more observant.
Very much so. Like that's what it is. And those little things that happen when you start to nurture something, anything that is living, you start to then have that ability to pass that to other living things. So I became like a better friend. I felt like I became a better boyfriend. And I was just better for this plant. And once I felt like I had the understanding of what Frank's needs were, then I started bringing more plants in.
So then I want to flash forward a little bit. You moved to Baltimore and meet your wife, and you guys get married. And you got married in Tulum.
We did.
Which is awesome. I've had the opportunity to be there, stayed at the Papaya Fire Project, and it had a whole emphasis on reclaiming the jungle. Like it's so weird to think about a resort as having that as the priority. So why Tulum? Is it because of the jungle aspect, or?
That's a great question. We decided on Tulum because very much so, based on plants.
Yeah.
I would say like we wanted to be somewhere that was tropical. My wife was like, I want to be near a beach. I want to make sure that it's just you and I. So we eloped.
Yeah.
Just you and I.
Is definitely the way to go looking back.
Yeah, I mean, we have no regret.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, she's not gonna listen to this. She has all the regrets. She's like, I should have had more children. And I say, yes, you should have, because I'm not the one. But yeah, it was a want to be surrounded in a peaceful, calming space. Like, that day can be so nerve-wracking, and anything can trigger someone to have an emotional breakdown. And what better space to be in than something that is going to help in the calming process. And
she shares this love of plants, I'm guessing.
She shares the same love that I have for me, I think. She is someone who understands, the nurture, what nurtures you. And she has been someone who's been a big supporter of my love for plants. She had plants when I first met her, but not many. And she's very self-aware. So she's like, these are the plants I can care for, and that's what I'll have. When I first met her, we were neighbors, like next door neighbors.
How many plants are in your place at this point? This is back in Baltimore, right?
About 90.
Yeah.
Or so.
I'm guessing there were a lot of plants.
Yeah, there were a lot of plants at that point. And she had offered me some leftovers that she had for, like a friend was coming over, she offered me some leftovers. I was like, great, I'll take them. So to thank her for that, I gifted her a snake plant. Snake plants are kind of, low maintenance. So not knowing her care level, I was like, let me give her something that she can manage. So we call that our love fern. No, it's a snake plant. But she wanted a place that was beautiful as well. We both love tropical spaces. We ended up going there. I mean, it was, and I don't know if you have questions about styling plants or bringing them into our interior spaces, but I had already decided that this is how I would operate in terms of bringing plants into spaces. But when we were in Tulum and we were getting married, obviously we were eloped, so it was just the two of us, but they had decided to hold as soon as we got to the jungle, because we got married on the jungle side, not on the beach side.
Yeah.
So when we decided we were driving up, when we pulled up, got out of the cars, the photographers were like, hey, Hilton, why don't you go into the jungle where the ceremony is going to take place? We'll hold Fiona back so we take some photos of her. So when I'm walking in, we got married by two shamans, right? And they had this musician that was playing, like, I don't know what it's called, but it's like they're like tubes, I guess, that's sort of sense. It's like blowing into them. It was like, it was just insane. But then they were burning this kapal smoke.
Yes.
Which was like lofting through the air and creating like all of these insane streams of sunlight, like peeking through all of the foliage of like monsteras and palms and all this stuff. And I'm walking in and I'm like, oh my, this is amazing. Like,
it sounds amazing.
This is amazing, but I'm thinking like, oh, no one's here like I'm feeling it, but no one else that I know is here to feel this. So I'm like, in my brain, telling myself in my head right there, remember this. So I'm like looking, like, capture this in your eyes, pull it in, never let it go. So it's a beautiful ceremony. Obviously the photographers captured a lot of it, but I remember after that thinking, I want to, and this is how I go about styling spaces, I want to make sure that whenever we are at home, in our home, and this is in our apartment at that point, whenever we're in a space in our home, we are reminded of that wonderful moment by bringing in plants that remind us of that space. So large palms, large monsteras, fiddle leaf figs that were there as well. But there's a lot of the outside world that we can't control our spaces. We can. Inside our home, we have the ability to control as much as that as we possibly can. So when I would leave my agency job and I would feel a little bit stressed, I could come home, I could sit in a chair, I could be under the foliage of a large monstera and then instantly be pulled back to Tulum with that wonderful one where I saw my wife coming through this jungle and think just about that for a second. So I think like to us, it was just like a way to be a part of nature, feel this intense, wonderful energy together, and just make something a actual moment and reflect on that every time we think about April 21st of 2018.
So you have the milestone of the restaurant in Pennsylvania and just a stress relief. You have the incredible joy of Tulum in the jungle.
Yeah.
What is that moment? Because you have two kids, one of whom's birthday is today, and you're with us, which is awesome.
Why would you do that?
Now that you have kids in the house, and you've had kind of this relationship with plants that has relieved stress with work, it's been a milestone of joy for being married. How do plants follow in or become part of your life with the children out there? Not just in styling, though that is great to talk about, but also like, the memories that they will incur.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up surrounded by plants. So my kids keep ending up as I make more books, they end up in these books, right? Like like I mentioned earlier, I think the process of caring for any living thing, it doesn't have to be a plant. I think once you decide to, as they say, focus or level up in the idea that I need to tend to this thing so it can grow, thrive, become its true potential. I never focused on individuals like that before I focused on plants in that sort of sense. And then that made me think about that for the people in my life. So while past relationships were failures in some sort of sense, when I met my now wife, I was perfectly ready to give her all of the things that I had learned through the process of caring for plants. And I think when we started having children, that was a beneficial thing for me. Like the idea of patience, like that's the one thing everyone has to learn when it comes to having plants. I was talking to one of your team members here today, and it's like sometimes you just have to be patient with the plants. We want to over love something. We want to care as much as we can for things. And sometimes like the plant, you just can't keep giving it water. You can't just put it in any sort of light. You have to let it, in some sense, tell you what it wants. So when we started having children, I started to see those.
The parallels, it's got to be our philosophy of plants and parenting.
For sure. Yeah. But, kids are a whole nother beast. Just like when I first got Frank, I thought, hey, put Frank in the window. That's what the plant needs. I did that same thing with my kids. Like, oh, you need this thing. And oh, no, you do not. Like, oh, what am I doing? But I love the ability to say, hey, we are in a home full of greenery, and this is what my wife and I enjoy. Now here is our children also participating and enjoying in that type of home. But I will say this, the idea of creating a home with all of those who live in the space, everything can't be for my personal liking. So while I wanted a home that has, we have all these plants surrounding us, if my daughter is walking, and I've learned this, with my wife as well, like I said, it's like she's into plants, but she's not into plants as much as I am. Yeah. So while I might style this Audrey ficus over here in this corner, and I'm like, oh, I like the idea of creating, like blurring the line of outdoor and indoor. When you're outside, you might be walking in a tree branch or a leaf might hit you in the head. Yeah. Because that happens a lot. Happens a lot being tall. Or in the shoulder. I like that feeling inside the house. But if my wife says, hey, this leaf keeps hitting me in the head, what is happening here? Yeah. I'm going to move the plant. Yeah. Because we all live in this house. So when my kids came, there were moments where it was just like, oh yeah, that cacti section of our home, that's kind of not what we need for the children. So we have to make sure that everyone, while we all have our wants and needs, like I love having plants, there were certain things that had to be changed so that everyone can enjoy the space. So I don't know if other people have kids. I never, if a kid touched, if one of my daughters were coming over and touching one of my plants, or he grabbed onto a leaf and he pulled it, I wasn't like, oh my God, what have you done? What have you done? I would just, like my oldest, I would just go, I was like, oh, okay, that's not what we want to do, but what we can do with what you just pulled off this plant, we can propagate it. Yeah. And we can make more of these plants. And maybe now you can take this plant into your room. And we talk about that, which, she's like, she would have been like 14 months at this point. She doesn't understand anything I'm saying. But it's your facial expressions is really what she's looking for. So I'm always mindful of, she's doing the things that I'm like, oh no, but she's also seeing me do those kind of things. Like they're just very in tune. They're watching you every step. Yeah. So she'll see me
even when you don't think they are.
Exactly. So she had seen me cut leaves off before to propagate them or prune the plant back. And I think she just finds herself, and even my youngest, in a way of they want to participate in the thing that you find so special. They want to be a part of it. And my 4-year-old now, my 3 and some change, almost 4-year-old is as if the plants aren't even there. She just walks around the house, the plant, she'll lift the leaf and just keep walking.
Keep right on going.
Yeah, it's like she walked into someone's house and it's like, oh, there's really big trees here. And I'm like, do you know how many plants we have in our house? Yeah. It's just if she never notices them. And I just think, okay, that's cool. Because that is her life.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting because you talk about, Frank, and you think about how he's taught you about awareness, right?
For sure.
And then this phase that you're going through with the kids, and it's teaching you compromise or how to, I love your analogy of being able to say, all right, let's take that leaf or that stem that you think that was propagated. I think that's a great turn. Is there something that you hope people in general get from plants? If it's something that, maybe they don't have kids, but it's something that they can take away from one plant or 15 plants?
Yeah, I think the amount of plants isn't based off of the amount of space or the amount of light. It's more based on the individual, right? Like everyone isn't built to have 100+ plants in their home. I always say it doesn't take 50, 100 plants to change the feeling of a space. It takes just one.
Yeah.
Right? Having that first plant in my home really changed the look of the corner that we have, but it changed me, right? Which then changed the feeling of the space. Someone who was walking around the space sour and frustrated paints the mood of the home.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can change it in that sort of sense, I think it works. But I think that most people, most of us, humans, animals, anything living, we find ourselves being pulled by nature, wanting to be out in it. And I think that's why the pandemic kind of heightened the want for people to bring in plants, because they missed that part. Like, you have to shelter in place. You can't really roam about outdoors. So we're like, well, the thing that we feel so excited about, like when you take your socks off, you get to have your toes like run through some grass, like that. There's some connectivity that's happening there with you and nature. And I feel like when someone brings a plant in, even if they have a difficult time caring for it, they feel that energy and they understand that. But I think for me, I've always wanted to make sure that people see or can at least understand that when we're bringing plants in, most all plants are living things. And the process of receiving the true benefits of plants don't just come from the fact that a snake plant can remove toxins from the air. But,
So how does that translate? I mean, shameless plug, you've written multiple books on various elements of biophilic design.
No shame.
Wild at Home, you're being your first one. How does what we've talked about move from the home to something like a workplace? Because it's a completely different environment. It's different social rules, but plants can still have a massive effect.
Oh, of course. And I don't think it's just about plants. I mean, obviously it's in most, I would say in new builds, you're seeing a lot of people involve greenery into their buildings. I think trying to inspire creativity happens when people are surrounded by things that remind them of nature. So natural elements being tied into a space, not having just hard, cold walls everywhere, natural woods, lots of light. These are things, shameless plug, I guess, that I've seen at Corgan, right? Like, I think the understanding is there's a lot of ways to make people feel that they're being caressed and amplified in some sort of sense by nature, that don't have to be directly in, bringing in a plant.
Yeah.
Right. So as I moved through the office yesterday, there were a lot of living plants. There were a lot of faux plants. But what I noticed in every single floor of the buildings, there was a lot of light. Right. And natural light makes us feel a lot better about a lot of things. So when you're in an office space, you want to make sure that you're providing those who are in the building with as much natural light as possible. Ways to then see, like even if like some rooms in my home, I will limit how many plants are inside the room, because outside the windows there's so much greenery.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing that part where I can, again, we're talking about blurring the line. I see the greenery there that then also affects me, right? And it makes me feel something. And I think that's where in an office space, we try to blur that line by bringing in things that remind us of nature. So natural materials like wood, like I said, stone, concrete, lots of light, patterns that reflect maybe floral or greenery that can then tie us back to that. Like I said, a full plant isn't alive, but it makes us think about being out in nature. And I think like that's the important part when we're working on an office space.
We're diving a little bit into specifics, but is there a plan for every environment? Meaning, you know, like you said, it's amazing to work at Corgan. This is actually the plant for my desk. I have a window next to me. It can get its light.
Yeah.
It's indirect because there's a parking garage next to us, but it lives, it thrives. If you don't have as much light, but you still want the benefits both physically and mentally of having plants, is the only option there faux plants, which obviously still have an effect, or are you able to have other plants that can survive and thrive with minimal light, et cetera?
Of course. I mean, you have this snake plant is considered, I would cover his ears if I could, your typical like office, throwing up air quotes here, but office plant, right? It can tolerate lower amounts of light, not necessarily needing a lot of attention, things of that nature. So I think in an office space, you can get away with a lot of greenery that is alive, living plants that have or need that same sort of, or don't need that much attention and that much light. And I think it's a process of understanding the types of plants that really work, and how you can grow and design them in a space. There's a large green golden pothos right outside of this room that's on a totem that is again a typical like office plant, but it's much larger and growing more, I would say, in a vertical way than you would see as the ones that are hanging across from us are. So it's just finding, if you're really looking to change the way your office feels and you're trying to bring in greenery, you can do it in very creative ways, just needing someone to know that. Or bringing in grow lights, changing the lighting that is in the space that has a particular temperature that plants can actually grow from. And having maybe all the lighting in the building have that. So now you have plants in all different spots in the office that aren't necessarily right next to a window, right, that are getting the illumination that they require from the lighting that's right above them.
When you go into a space and there's no plants, I'm curious what your immediate reaction is, like, oh, those poor people. But then also, do you start designing or start thinking about what should go, you know, what they should do, and what it's just kind of like, it's kind of like a filmmaker going to watch a movie and turn it off?
For sure. It depends on the space, right? If I go into a space that has really great light and they don't have a plant, then I think about the missed opportunity there. If I'm in a place that has limited light, right, natural light, I understand the lack of greenery in the space. But yeah, if it has a lot of light, I'm always wanting to give my opinion on what could be possible if they made the decision, because I think that there are a lot of opportunities to change, like I said before, the mood of the space with greenery. But I'm also mindful of the way someone's thought process in a truly curated design space, like how what they're trying to portray when they don't have plants. And I don't argue that.
Fair enough.
Because you are saying something when you don't have a plant in the space.
And it could be intentional, or it could just be accidental.
Of course, like I said, like, just in case this falls in another spot. For me, there's spots in my home, rooms in my home, that don't have a plant, or a corner of my home that doesn't have a plant, because there are plants right outside the windows.
Yeah.
So if you have a beautiful space, has very large windows, and right outside of those windows are just lushness, beautiful trees, greenery just right there, what's the point of having any plants inside?
Gotcha.
You can now just make a nice minimalistic little setup in your space and then have all that flood of green just come through from the window. So I just feel like I'm not one to judge someone for not having a plant, but I do know for a fact you are definitely making a statement when you decide not to.
Okay, real talk for a second.
Okay? This was all real talk, but okay.
Well, I'm gonna ask you to confess a little here. Have you ever struggled with a plant? Frank doesn't count. He was early on, but have you ever struggled with a plant or even killed one by mistake?
I killed one by mistake, of course. I mean,
hopefully you're not killing them intentionally.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, everyone's killed plants. I still to this day will kill a plant. I think once you get to a point where you, like when I'm on a book tour, if I'm here, there will be plants that accidentally get lost in the shuffle, where it's a person I'm having care for them while I'm gone.
Yeah.
Might miss it. I never blame the individual who my goal is to set them up for success. If they've missed the plant, it's more likely I just didn't set them up to make sure that plant would survive. In the past, I've killed plants just based off of not being able to provide them what they needed in the time they needed it.
I'm kind of surprised because I mean, even yesterday you had this whole session which was awesome, where people were able to was plant 911 and they were great too, and you were able to kind of diagnose what needed to happen.
Oh, for sure. But it's life, it's living things. Sometimes plants dying is not because of what I did to them. Some plants I get rid of or are on their way to dying because they're infested by bugs, and that's not something that I did to them.
Yeah, it just happened.
It just happened. So I definitely think that someone who has killed some of the well-known easy plants.
Yeah. Somehow it feels like there's a little bit more shame associated with that.
They shouldn't have, I know, but they shouldn't feel such shame because it happens,
Yeah.
right? I've killed pothos, I've killed snake plants, I've killed ZZ plants, right? I think it's a part of the process, but the thing is, there's a point where if you're like, oh, I've killed 4 or 5 fiddle leaf figs, but I'm gonna try it again. At some point, if you haven't learned your lesson at that,
you gotta go ask for some
you
help.
should try another plant.
Fair enough.
And I think for me, like whenever I kill a particular plant, I know why I did that.
Yeah.
That's on me. I'm gonna make sure I'm better for it this time. But for the most part, it's like, oh yeah, I had no time for you.
Yeah.
And I think once people lock into the idea that plants are living things and they can consider them just like they consider their pets, when some people leave town, they're like, oh, I can use a water spike and it'll self-water itself, or I get a self-watering pot. And when I come back, hopefully, it'll still be alive. No one will ever do that to their dog.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
Their cat. They're like, I hope my dog's still alive when I get back. I really hope. No, but if you really care, and again, Oasis where we are, their plants aren't super expensive, but there are other cities where, like New York, a plant is very expensive. So they're kind of investments. So to make sure that you are covering your investment, you might want to have someone come and check on them, right? So I feel like that's the thing. Like if once you decide that you want to put the work in to care for a plant, all of it becomes easy. Right? Like you're like this, like podcasting. You didn't just wake up one day like, oh no, I want to start a podcast. And then, all right, someone grab a camera and then we're just going to start.
Yeah.
No, you did some research about how to become a better podcaster. I would hope.
I actually never had plans on being on this side of the camera, which is a kind of a funny story. Well, that actually leads to my next question. So, I mean, with a film background, you're always thinking about being behind the camera. You're thinking about the stories. For most filmmakers, being in front of the camera is like the furthest thing from their minds.
Yeah, you're only in front of the camera when you're sitting in, and then you go back.
Exactly. And so, you know, you have your own podcast, Inside Hilton's Head, which is awesome. Be a little shout out there.
I love it.
And you've been on multiple TV shows, had your own shows. You've done a lot of things that are in front of the camera.
For sure.
But with the background of really the intention of being behind it, what has that transition been like? Like, how has that been for you? Do you find yourself, I mean, you have 650,000 Instagram followers. How do you balance those? How do you reconcile those?
For me, I think it's been beneficial for all of the crews that I work with.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about the things that they're thinking about. You know, I know when I'm working on my own pieces, I know the way we're going to edit it while we're in the process of shooting it. I just think that it helped me, right? Like, I think this is the interesting part of all of it. Like, I talk about this in my next book that's coming out. The fact that you're not just one thing.
Yeah.
Or you shouldn't just be one thing. And I know that in many spaces, especially in social media, like if you start talking about something outside of the thing that they know you for, they're like, no, just keep talking about plants.
Yeah.
and I think it's funny because the thing that I know separated me from all the other individuals that were creating content in that time, like 2016, about interiors and plants, was that I understood photography. So I could create a better image that was different than the other people that were putting stuff out. Understood composition, understood color, understood light. Understood story. So I could then write a caption, which was funny because when the publishers who still I'm working with first reached out, they were like, would you consider writing a book? And I was like, well, I've only written scripts before and captions.
Yeah.
So as long as I can write this book, like I'm writing a bunch of captions, I'm good. But it was having the ability to understand the filmmaking side or photography side in the past lessons that I learned back in art school that allowed me to create content that lifted my work above all the stuff that was on social at that time.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like that's kind of the thing that helped me be better for all of this. So yeah, it's beneficial to have had that background of being behind the camera to now be here in front of the camera. But this isn't like once I moved in front of the camera, it all felt unnatural.
Yeah.
You know how that is. So I never felt completely comfortable in the space.
Yeah.
And then one day I was just like, well, this is the new way all of us operate.
Yeah.
And the only way to continue in what I'm doing is to be in front of the camera.
So much of that happened right around COVID too.
Yeah. So you gotta be comfortable with it. And that's just it. So
by the way, thank you for not outing me on how many times it took to do the intro. You know, I talk about comfort level.
Hey man, like that's one thing that I always I never give anyone crap about, because you know we all want to make sure that everything sounds right, looks right.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you want to say the thing, you want it to make it clean and perfect, especially when you have a guest on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very aware of the behind the scenes part.
Yeah.
Like how much goes it, and that's the thing too, which kind of made me a little bit sour about social. It's just like, as a filmmaker, I was like, no one cares about the look or the art of it.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, why haven't you gone to TikTok or work a lot more TikTok? I'm like, because I can't.
Yeah.
It won't leave me that no one cares about the art of making visuals.
Yeah.
Like they just are just putting thing out, and then
There's no curation or no growth.
Yeah, there's none of it. So I just find it hard. So I was one of the, and I'm just shouting out like video stuff now, but I had, everyone started on YouTube, but then when Vimeo came out,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a Vimeo guy.
I'm gonna look for that staff picks badge right
Yeah,
there on it.
I'm a Vimeo guy. So if people are like, we're headed back to YouTube, I'm like, nope. that's not where the art is.
Filmmakers are.
Exactly. So yeah, man. So you learn to utilize what you have been taught, no matter when you learned it, right?
Yeah.
To then pull from that to create the thing that you're creating. At least for me now. So all the stuff that I would put, the people who were in front of the camera for me when I was making films or whatever videos I was making, I think about those things. And I think about how I would always say to them, if you can't see the lens can't see you.
Mm-hmm.
If, like whenever there's an airplane flying by, just hold and understand that. So I find myself being very sensitive to those things.
Yeah.
And knowing what, which is helpful for everyone, I think, and just knowing when I step on the line or what's going to happen for our friends who are going to edit this, like where they need certain beats or things to stop and flow. So
it all comes back to that story background, Gene.
Yeah.
You understand the idea of how to create a story, not just in telling it, but in how all the pieces had to play together to have that impact.
For sure.
Is there a place you haven't been yet that you really want to go? Particularly that, with the idea of plants and growth.
There's a Uchiba. Have you been? No. Uchiba is just a restaurant. It's here in Texas. Here in Dallas.
I haven't been to it either.
No. Oh, place. You know what? I really want to go to Thailand. Haven't been to Thailand.
Bucket list.
But it's on the bucket list. But being the size I am, I can't take very long flights. So that's why the furthest I've been is Japan. But I think my next, once my kids are a bit older, the dream will be to fly to Tokyo, spend time in Japan, Kyoto, then fly to Thailand, spend time there for like a week or two. In Singapore, maybe some time there, then to Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And make it a full thing. There's a lot of, those in the plant space, design space, if you're not familiar with what's happening in Japan, it's insane.
Well, that's not surprising though.
Well, it is kind of surprising because when I went there the second time in 2016, they were doing nothing with houseplants.
Really?
Bonsai was their thing.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
then in the past few years, they like jumped into the houseplant space, and like they do with everything, they go from like behind to like 20 years ahead. And they just started taking like regular house plants and like kind of bonsaiing them into weird shapes and having the ability to take the root system and grow it in a way where they don't need to be in deeper pots, but now they're in long, wider pots, and it's just intense. So it's like these are the things I feel like for anyone who's in design and art, like being able to go out and see what else is being created, like see it in person. There's something nice about being able to just flip through books or online and see an image. But I think when you're up next to it and seeing it in a space like that, it just changes you. And I think like that's been the thing for me. Like whenever I get to travel, I know that it's not just to relax and, come back refreshed. It's more about how am I going to be inspired? So when I do get back, I can put that stuff to work.
Is there a space outside of your house that inspires you? Because obviously we talk a lot about surrounding yourself in your space.
Yeah, of course.
Is there someplace outside of your house that you go to? And it can
Baltimore?
be Baltimore, or it can be anywhere in the country.
Oh.
You're like, you know what? I'm going to take a sabbatical for 2 weeks. I'm going to go here.
Oh, man, I wish I could do that. My wife's not letting that happen.
Fair enough.
Like, ooh, crazy? No, we're taking these children. I think my office, honestly, like my studio's, I made my studio a space for me to feel inspired and creative, and that helps. That really does it gives me a lot of ideas. But like even yesterday, like just look, shameless plug all you want, but I went to the materials library yesterday.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Like some people wouldn't get as jazzed as I was about that, but I was like, can we not do anything for the rest of the day except for just hang out here?
Yeah.
Because to me, like that, there's moments like that where you'll just find inspiration. Like you're just thinking about a thing. Like even this little bit of fabric here, this tapestry, I'm just looking at it and I'm going, there's a project that I need to work on, and this kind of feels like something that would be really cool for like some drapes in there. But like every single moment of being in any space, like I think there's a saying like bored people are boring people are bored.
Yeah.
Right. Like I feel like that to me, like I can find inspiration in many spaces. Yeah. You just have to be open to it and willing to search for it. Right. And I think that Baltimore has many spaces like that where I'll go, like the conservatory there in Baltimore. I love to go to New York just to see what is happening there and all the galleries there. DC, like so, it's there's a lot to see. There's a lot to be inspired by. But if I was going to be able to take a 2-week vacation, let's say, to be inspired, but I have to take my family with me.
You get to take
my family with me. Man, I don't know. There's so many places that I think I would be been inspired by. So,
all right, what's next? You mentioned a 6th book that's coming. Is there like a holy grail project you wish you could do, or just something that you feel like is like, man, this is what I want next?
What's next? No, I think I mentioned this last night to the lovely ladies of Oasis. The goal is to work on a children's book at some point. But that's down the road, maybe a year or 2, 3 down the road. A new video series that's about bringing plants into spaces is still in the works. Other than that, it's probably just... being inspired, creating as much as I possibly can. I've gotten back into painting more.
Oh, awesome.
Because I just feel that, you sharpen all the tools that you possibly can to make the thing that you're working on much better. So whenever I have it down, and it's hard to have it, but downtime,
there's so much of that with 2 kids.
I know. But no, like that's the thing. So I feel like I've been painting with my oldest daughter. Like we'll paint together sometimes too. But I feel like for me, let's say 5 years from now, the goal is to have I would say a series.
Okay.
Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on a network, I'm not sure. But I just feel like that's something that I just need to get out.
Yeah. It's a story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
Hilton, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
A huge shout out again to Oasis. I tell you what, in 5 years, we'll come back and we'll do another episode and we'll talk about the series.
Oh yeah, we'll do it here.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Aaron. You cool with that? Awesome.
Aaron's the best. Hannah, Bethany, Liz, the team here. Like I said, like if you're in the area, you have to come out to Oasis. That's the thing. Like when you talk about plants, bringing them in, like obviously I try to influence as many people to care for their plants, but plant shops like this who make sure that they are setting their customers up for success. It could be an easy thing, a good business model to have people come in, don't tell them what to do and let them kill their plant and then come back. But that could also be bad for business, right?
We had that experience with PetSmart and a fish this last month with my son.
Oh, whoa.
Let's not go there. But no, I really appreciate Oasis letting us come in. And you've given me a unique opportunity to specifically thank Stephen and Luke and Adam and Lena and Alex and Justin, who are just a part of the team that make this incredible time happen. So
I love it.
Thank you again, Hilton. Really appreciate it. Make sure you check Hilton out. We'll put all his links below in the episode, and make sure to check out the next episode of The Square.